Okay, good evening and welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for November 15th. The Planning and Zoning Commission is a citizens advisory group to the City Council. We are charged with making recommendations concerning land use plans, planning processes, and/or other matters of plan implementation. All regular meetings of the Planning and Zoning Commission are quasi-judicial in nature and are recorded for the retention and minute transcription. A clarification meeting was held at 5:30 just to go over a couple of things on the agenda. The following is the official agenda for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Discussion and commission action will be limited to those items on the agenda. This is a public meeting, but there will be no public hearing tonight. Agenda item number 1 will be roll call and disclosure of conflict of interest. And item number 2 will be a preliminary plat for the Crestview Estates Division 2. Basically, we call the roll.
Jack Brennan.
My name is Jack Brennan. I live in the Johnny Creek area. I did make a site visit to item number 2, and I have nothing else to disclose.
Jack Moore.
I'm Jack Moore. I live in the Old Town District, and I did a site visit to agenda item 2. And I have nothing else to report.
Sarah O'Connor.
My name is Sarah O'Connor. I'm in the college neighborhood, and I did do a site visit to agenda item 2, and I have nothing else to report.
And Julia Sanders.
I'm Julia Sanders. I live in the South Park area. I did not do a site visit for this specifically, but I have seen the site previously when it was annexed in. I have nothing further to report.
Oh, and tonight we have excused Bill Hancock, Sean Hargraves, and Ryan Satterfield.
Okay. We'll move on to agenda item number 2. Would you like to speak, Mr. Satterfield?
Yep, thank you. So I'm Ryan Satterfield from Satterfield Realty and Development, 3141 Trevor Street. If it's okay, I'll just kind of stay sitting here, if that's all right. So yeah, what we're proposing tonight is the preliminary plat for this Crestview Estates Division 2. We did Crestview Estates Division 1 last year, which was the extension of Lois Lane, and then we added a new street called Mariah Way. Division 2 is then working to the north of that, and then kind of ties in our currently developed Greenfield Meadows subdivision, which is another subdivision that we have been working on over the last couple of years. And so this kind of brings in some interconnectivity between those different areas. There are 33 lots that we're proposing in this subdivision. Of those 33, 2 of those lots are owned or will be owned by the LDS Church, thus their name is on the application. However, this is a Satterfield Realty and Development subdivision that we will be developing and running. The lot number 5, as you see there, block 1, is currently used as a parking lot for the Highland Stake Center, and so it is this area right here. And then the lot number 6 is the larger lot to the east of that. All of the lots, as you should have seen from the staff report, are larger than what the required minimum is, but they do match kind of the other lot sizes for that area in there. As I've kind of gone through everything, I think we're in agreeance with everything in the staff report, except for one item that I would just like to bring up and discuss a little bit. Item number 20 on Exhibit 1, which is the memorandum exhibit, says the street labeled Monson Street will remain as Roy Street. There is no Roy Street in this subdivision. Roy Street is a street down in Chubbuck currently, and so what was meant was Ray Street. Part of the reason, and I'll give you a little bit of history for part of the reason why we would like to rename Ray Street. Ray Street was originally put in 1991 with the Crestview Park subdivision. Ray is a distant cousin of mine, and I don't know him. I really don't know much about him. But in 1997, when we proposed Crestview Park 3rd edition, it was proposed that Ray Street be changed to Carroll Street at that time, Carroll being another family name. For whatever reason, Ray was not wanting to be kept, I guess, within the naming of the streets there. And at that time, it was approved in preliminary stages to have that renamed Carroll Street. But it did need to go before City Council. City Council is the only one that has the authority to actually rename a street. So in this one, in much similar fashion, it was decided we wanted to have a different name for Ray Street. Also for the reason that, you know, this could very easily be mistaked for Roy Street, Ray Street. One of the, if you look in the standards, development standards for street naming, I've got some here. So section 500.08.14 is really the only guidance that the city lays out for street namings. And I'll just read real quick what it says in short on that. It says, street names shall not be duplicated except for the continuation of existing street. New street names shall not sound similar to any existing street within the 911 emergency dispatch area. Street names must be simple and easy to pronounce in the opinion of the reviewing jurisdiction. There's not a whole lot of guidance on how streets can be renamed. In the past, multiple times we have proposed street renames on streets that have no addresses, which Ray Street that's currently the case with Ray Street. Both of the houses on the corner face Satterfield and have Satterfield Drive addresses. Ray Street has no addresses there. Therefore, it makes it much simpler to rename that street because there's not multiple utilities or things like that that have to be notified in order to make that change. However, in the end, the City Council does have to approve that, and I recognize that. With this, I would ask that the Planning and Zoning Commission allow us to still rename Ray Street and not be left with that name, Ray. With that, that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Can you explain why there's no sewer or water services shown for lots 1, 2, 3, and 4?
It was just a simple oversight. The layer got turned on when it was printed, so there, yeah, it would be silly for us to not have that.
Can you show us on this map where the retention ponds are planned for?
So, kind of zoom that up here. So right now, so as we go to the north, we've got piping systems all in place through the streets here that bring all the storm water, and then we have a series of retention ponds that run all the way up this northern side of Greenfield Meadows, as well as down into what was Highland Meadows and things like that. So a number of, an amount of this is designed to come and go down into these ponds and be retained there, which would require that we make and do some modification on this pond here. And then the other ponds are to the south in Crestview Estates Division 1. We built this pond here that sits between Lois and Sunrise Way. And this pond was built in anticipation of adding additional and future subdivisions that would then drain and settle into this area here. So those are the two ponds. There will be a third, not necessarily, and I guess we're not totally sure until we do all of our final storm calculations. There will be another pond that will be built here, whether that gets built in this phase or in the phase when we do a future development in this area here. will kind of be determined on the final stormwater calculations.
And that last one is on your map as well.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Will lot 5 remain parking for the church?
It will, yep. Yeah, so right now, I mean, it's not necessarily a platted lot, and so we wanted to have everything in that area within a plat, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was in agreement to just having it out. It makes surveying easier and just makes everything smoother. But yes, the plan is to have it stay in a parking lot.
Errol, would you like to give us a little?
Carl wants the presentation.
Oh,
Oh,
Okay.
And then I'll answer questions. Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Carl Anderson, Senior Planner, City of Pocatello. Tonight we have a joint application for Crestview Estates Division 2 from Ryan Satterfield and Michael J. Thompson of the Corporation of the Prototype Bishop of the Latter-day Saints, represented by Mitch Greer of RMES. The request tonight before you tonight is for a preliminary plat subdivision application. The subject site is approximately 28.73 acres of land containing 33 total lots, much of which Ryan covered previously. The property was annexed as part of a larger annexation and is zoned as residential low density, RL, which is consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. The smallest lot proposed is 11,796 square feet, and the largest lot is 476,744 square feet. Staff has reviewed the application and recommends approval with the conditions attached in the staff report. I'll be happy to answer questions, and Merrill Quell from Public Works is also here to answer questions.
so in our clarification meeting, we were talking about this Ray Street. And it's our understanding that that's actually a separate process outside of the subdivision
My
process.
zoning. Yeah.
Planning and zoning. So that a new application would actually have to be made to the city in order to get that changed. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I guess to answer the question why it is there is that it just showed up on a plat, and the adjacent plat was spoken of that had Ray Street, and I'm sorry for the typo with Roy and Ray, that was my fault. But the adjacent plat had there, and then we have a plat that was submitted. There wasn't any other communication or anything there, so with that, we put that stipulation on there that it would continue as Ray Street, where there'd been no communication to our office or anything to have that name changed. It just showed up on the plat. So, but it is a separate process. That process will be a request to change the name. We'll have the adjoiner, the names, or the adjoining property owners that are affected there, to be able to give any comment to that name change, and that name change will go to the city council and will be through a resolution process that will change that name if the city council wishes to do so.
Okay, so the item 20 will remain as Ray Street for the time being until such time as an application is made and presented to the city council to change.
That would be correct. That is the process that we used.
Okay. Sarah?
So,
Julia?
so could the name change process versus the preliminary plat process, could that be almost a timing issue of if the process to get the name changed were complete before there was any movement forward on this? And I don't know if you'd want to wait or if that would even work, but is that a possibility?
The possibility, yes, it could run the same night of the city council meeting, and it'd have to be prior to the final plat application that went to the city council for that name change. That's our past practices, is what we've done.
again, the reason it's there is pointed out is that it just showed up on the plat and there was no discussion to city staff that I'm aware of. I know through there that it just showed up. So that's why it was that way.
Any other questions? Okay. Any discussion amongst the commissioners?
I see that Satterfield has dotted his i's and crossed his t's, and I don't see anything wrong with the application.
Okay, we'll close the hearing and take a vote. Or close the meeting and take a vote. Aislinn, you call the roll.
Need a
Oh, we need a motion,
motion.
excuse me. Need a motion.
So I move to recommend approval to the city council to approve the preliminary plat request to subdivide 28.73 acres, more or less, into 33 residential lots located at the east end of Butte Street, south of Legacy Drive, north of Crestview Estates Division 1, with a residential low-density zoning district per staff recommendations and conditions.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Aislinn, will you call the roll?
Sanders,
Yes.
O'Connor,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, that concludes our meeting. Thank you for coming.